Shanquella Robinson, a vacation turned fatal. In October 2022, 25-year-old Shanquella Robinson left her hometown of Charlotte, North Carolina, for what was supposed to be a dream vacation in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. She traveled with 6 friends, excited for sunshine, laughter, and memories that would last a lifetime. But less than 24 hours after arriving, Shanquella was dead. Her friends claimed it was alcohol poisoning, yet a disturbing video and an official autopsy told a much darker story. This film retraces her final hours using facts from reports, media coverage, and the voices demanding justice. Every so often, a story emerges that refuses to fade. It lingers in the public consciousness, raising questions that no official report can fully answer. The story of Shanquella Robinson is one of those cases. She was just 25 years old, a young black woman from Charlotte, North Carolina. Shanquella was known for her confidence, her creativity, and her drive. She was not only a daughter and a sister, but also an entrepreneur running her own hair braiding business. Those who knew her describe her as the life of the party. She had a radiant smile, a contagious laugh, and dreams much bigger than her hometown. And in late October 2022, she boarded a plane with 6 friends, headed to Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. A luxurious villa by the sea, palm trees swaying in the breeze, and days filled with sunshine. It sounded like the perfect escape. But within 24 hours of arriving, she would be gone. So how did a dream vacation turn into an unspeakable nightmare? The group arrived in Cabo on October 28th, checking into a spacious villa with marble floors, a private pool, and sweeping views of the ocean. The house was meant for celebration, a getaway filled with laughter, photos, and the kind of carefree memories that young people carry with them for a lifetime. But those who later studied the timeline would note something unusual. The trip had barely begun when tragedy struck. For Shanquella's family, there was never a chance to hear about her adventures. No phone calls describing the ocean, no videos of her smiling by the pool, just silence. And then, devastating news. On October 29th, less than a full day after arriving in Cabo, Shanquella's mother, Salamandra Robinson, received a call. It was one of the friends on the trip. Their message was confusing, but the key point was chilling. Shanquella wasn't feeling well. They claimed she had been drinking heavily, that she was resting, that she just needed some time to recover. But within hours, another call came. This time, the message was final. Shanquella was dead. The cause, her friends insisted, was alcohol poisoning. The Robinson family tried to understand what had happened, but every conversation with Shanquella's friends seemed to raise more questions. One said she never woke up after a night of drinking. Another claimed she got sick suddenly. Another suggested she passed out in her room. None of the stories aligned. Her mother later told reporters that instinctively, she knew something wasn't right. They said she wasn't feeling well, but I just couldn't believe it. My daughter was strong. She was healthy. She had so much energy. For a woman who had built her own business, who had chased her dreams fearlessly, the idea of suddenly collapsing from alcohol after less than 24 hours in Mexico made no sense. As the hours passed, doubt grew stronger. Why had her friends not sought immediate medical help? Why were there conflicting versions of the story? Why did they seem so eager to emphasize alcohol poisoning when no doctor had confirmed it? The Robinson family had no answers, only heartbreak. And soon, the wider public would be confronted with something far more disturbing, because a video was about to surface, one that revealed Shanquella's final moments alive. The Robinson family's doubts were already growing, but soon the entire world would see something that turned suspicion into outrage. A video that should never have existed, and yet it became the clearest evidence of what really happened inside that Cabo villa. The footage, leaked onto social media, shows Shanquella Robinson. She is inside a bedroom of the villa. She is naked, and she is being brutally attacked by another young woman from the group. The attacker is striking her repeatedly, slapping, hitting, dragging her toward the floor. Shanquella does not fight back. She doesn't raise a hand in defense. Instead, she stumbles, her body bending under the weight of each blow. Her voice is barely audible. She seems disoriented, vulnerable, almost fragile. And still, the assault continues. What makes the video even more haunting are the voices heard in the background. A man can be heard saying, "Quella, at least fight back." It's not a plea to stop. It's not a call for help. It's a taunt. No one steps in. No one pulls the attacker away. No one protects her. They watch. They record. And for reasons still unanswered, they let it happen. When this footage surfaced, it spread like wildfire. Viewers around the world were horrified. People asked, why was no one stopping this? Why was she naked? Why did her friends return home and tell her family she died of alcohol poisoning when they had witnessed this brutal assault? The video shattered the narrative her so-called friends had crafted. It revealed not alcohol poisoning, but violence. Cold, undeniable violence. For Shanquella's family, watching that video was unbearable. Her mother later said, "They stood there and did nothing. They let her die." The footage was not just shocking, it was heartbreaking, because it captured not only a young woman's suffering, but also the complete betrayal of those she believed were her friends. And yet, as horrifying as the video was, it was not the only piece of evidence. The truth would grow even clearer when the results of her autopsy were revealed. Results that told a story her friends could no longer deny. The video had already shaken the public, but soon after, another revelation emerged, one that would prove beyond any doubt that the story of alcohol poisoning was a lie. The official autopsy report. When Mexican authorities conducted the autopsy, the results were chilling. The report didn't mention alcohol poisoning at all. Instead, it listed the cause of death as a severe spinal cord injury and a broken neck. Medical examiners concluded that these injuries would have left Shanquella incapacitated almost instantly, and that she likely died within 15 minutes. This wasn't the result of drinking too much. This wasn't a sudden illness. This was trauma, force, violence. Yet her friends, the very people who had been there, who had watched the beating, continued to tell her mother the same story. She drank too much. She just couldn't handle it. But the autopsy made those words collapse like a house of cards. The broken vertebrae, the damaged spinal cord. These were not the injuries of alcohol. These were the injuries of assault. So why did her friends insist on repeating the same false story? Were they protecting each other? Were they trying to cover up what really happened? The autopsy was undeniable proof. On one side, the friends' version, vague, inconsistent, impossible. On the other, the medical truth, brutal, precise, irreversible. The contrast between those two narratives only deepened the suspicion, and it fueled the anger spreading across the United States and beyond. because this wasn't just about a young woman dying. It was about a young woman being beaten, suffering fatal injuries, and then being abandoned while those responsible boarded planes home. With the autopsy report in hand, Shanquella's death could no longer be dismissed as an accident. It was homicide, and the question was no longer if a crime had been committed, but when justice would come. By now, the truth was undeniable. Shanquella Robinson had not died of alcohol poisoning. She had been beaten. She had suffered fatal injuries. This was homicide. And yet, justice would prove agonizingly slow. Less than 24 hours after her death, the 6 friends who had traveled with her to Cabo packed their bags and flew back to the United States. They left Mexico without facing a single question from investigators. They left without giving statements, without providing clarity, without showing the slightest accountability. Even more shocking, they left Shanquella's body behind. Her family had to navigate the heartbreaking process of bringing her home themselves. The image is almost unbearable. Friends returning to their lives in North Carolina, while Shanquella's mother waited at the airport for her daughter's remains. Under growing public pressure, Mexican authorities began investigating. Officials in Baja California Sur announced that Shanquella's case was being treated not as an accident, but as a femicide, a gender-based killing. In late November, less than a month after her death, they confirmed an arrest warrant had been issued for one of the women seen in the video, identified in reports as the main aggressor. For the Robinson family, it was the first glimmer of hope, but that hope was short-lived. The suspect was back in the United States. Mexico requested her extradition, but the process was far from simple. The U.S. Department of Justice and the FBI said they were reviewing the case. Months turned into more than a year, and still, no arrest was made. Legal experts pointed to the challenges: extradition treaties, jurisdictional debates, questions about whether the U.S. would allow one of its citizens to face trial abroad. But to Shanquella's family, these were just excuses. "We have a video. We have an autopsy. What more do they need?" her mother asked at a rally. For the public, the delays were infuriating. How could there be an arrest warrant, yet no arrest? How could there be international headlines, yet no progress? And the suspicion grew heavier. Were these delays a matter of bureaucracy? Or was it something deeper? Was there a lack of will to see justice done? As the months dragged on, one thing became clear. Official justice was stalled. But in the streets, on social media, and in the hearts of those who knew Shanquella, the fight was only intensifying. Because if the courts would not move swiftly, the people would not stay silent. When the video surfaced, the outrage was immediate. But as the days turned into weeks, it became something larger, a movement. The name Shanquella Robinson became a rallying cry. On Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, the hashtag #Justice for Shanquella spread like wildfire. Strangers from around the world demanded answers, comment sections filled with anger, disbelief, and sorrow. People asked, why isn't anyone in jail? Why is this case being stalled? How many times must black women be failed before justice comes? Every repost of the video, every tweet, every shared headline kept the pressure alive. But at the heart of it all was her family. Her mother, Salamandra, spoke at rallies. Her father, Bernard Robinson, gave interviews through tears. Together, they demanded that officials in both Mexico and the U.S. take action. At one press conference, Salamandra's voice broke as she said, "We're not going to let up. "We're not going to stop until we get justice for our daughter." Her words resonated far beyond Charlotte. In North Carolina, marches were held with people chanting her name. Posters with Shanquella's face were raised high. Candles were lit in vigils. Across the country, civil rights activists joined the cause, comparing the delays in her case to a broader pattern, a system that too often moves slowly when victims are young women of color. This wasn't just about one tragedy anymore. It became a symbol of something bigger, the demand that all lives be valued equally, that justice not be selective. Mainstream media picked up the story. Major networks aired segments questioning the delays. Talk shows debated it. Podcasts dissected it. And yet, while the world was talking, the Robinson family was still waiting for a phone call, waiting for an arrest, waiting for the justice their daughter deserved. The voices grew louder. The hashtags multiplied. But the one thing that mattered most, accountability, remained out of reach. And as the pressure built, the haunting question lingered. Would anyone ever be held responsible for the death of Shanquella Robinson? 2 years have passed since Shanquella Robinson traveled to Cabo San Lucas. 2 years since a trip meant for joy turned into tragedy. 2 years since her mother answered the phone and heard words no parent should ever hear. And still, justice has not come. We know this much. Shanquella was full of life. She entered that villa alive, hopeful, excited for a vacation with friends. Within 24 hours, she was gone. We know a video shows her being violently attacked. We know an autopsy confirmed she suffered a broken neck and spinal cord injury. Injuries consistent with assault, not alcohol poisoning. We know her friends returned home, leaving her behind. What we don't know is why no one has been held accountable, why a warrant sits unanswered, why a family still wakes up every day asking for justice that is yet to arrive. Shanquella's story has become bigger than one case. It has become a symbol of how fragile trust can be, of how quickly lives can be shattered, and of how often the pursuit of justice feels like a battle against silence. Her parents continue to fight. Her community continues to march. Her name continues to echo across social media. But is it enough? Will justice ever be delivered? Or will her case remain one more haunting reminder of a system that too often fails the very people who need it most? For now, all we can do is remember who Shanquella was, a vibrant, ambitious young woman who deserved so much more than what happened in that villa in Cabo. Her story is not over, because every time her name is spoken, every time her story is shared, the demand for answers grows louder. What do you think really happened to Shanquella Robinson? Do you believe justice will ever be served in her case? Every secret waits to be revealed. Every silence that carries an echo, every story is waiting to be told. This was her secret. What about yours? What do you think about this case? Share your thoughts in the comments. Every voice matters. Subscribe and step into the echoes of truth.